So, Gaurav, Snaplogic is growing and it's so exciting to see your growth beyond North America. What excites you about this growth?
Well, thank you. It has been just a great year for us. I look back at where we were a year before and where we are now. We've nearly doubled in size, have that many new people join. And what I'm excited to do is bring some of the work we've been doing that is such a breakthrough for some of the largest companies in the world to other parts of the world. Like most companies based in Silicon Valley, we started in North America, we expanded into Europe, and now we're expanding very broadly to the greater world. And it's timely because the innovations that we provide into somebody in Europe or in North America also apply in Australia, New Zealand, in other parts of the globe where people have to connect large, complicated things by hand, or they might use some technologies from yesteryear. And we have an opportunity to really tip that on its head and bring in some very quick, innovative things to work in a challenging business that otherwise impedes growth. It creates friction, it creates cost, and it slows down digital transformations if you do it by hand. So we've seen the benefit of Snaplogic so many times, hundreds of enterprises in about 12 countries across the globe, and we'd like to have have a zero on it someday.
Absolutely. And no doubt now, with all the economic challenges globally, there could be some challenges along the way. What are some of those challenges when growing globally?
Well, you know, interestingly, as a Snaplogic is contra-cycle. So in the boom, we saw so many companies hiring like crazy, and there's probably a separate conversation about the moral aspect of hiring and firing and laying off and so on. We tend to be steady people. We approach things in a very steady way. But that said, headcount was free. You could hire any number of clever women and men to connect the systems in your company, and that was fine because you had unlimited budget. But actually, with a slowdown, something like Snaplogic is providing automation to our customers. A large music streaming service, you probably are a subscriber, found they were losing millions because they weren't able to reconcile the currency fluctuations quickly enough. They had a layoff and they brought in a substantial Snaplogic installation at the same time because they wanted to automate the calculation of currencies in a multi-system world where all these fluctuations otherwise were setting them back. So it's just a tiny recent example of some of the things that we're seeing. We think we're going to see that on a massive scale as, fortunately for us, a positive force for good, for removing friction, for speeding up the benefits of technology investments. And with regards to sort of the challenges globally, I would say for us, awareness is a challenge. We're sort of not as well known outside the United States. We have a presence in Europe now that is large and growing. We have some iconic customers in the Middle East, people like Emirates Airlines, IKEA, etc. We have some wonderful customers in Australia and New Zealand, Zero Accounting, Woodside, George Weston Foods, and so many other Hitachi customers here. So we think the challenge for us really is awareness. People who sit down and say, how do I make sense of all this mess? How do I have mess for less? When they're looking at ways to solve the problem, they should think of, oh, let's snap it together. So to me, that is probably the largest impediment, challenge to our growth.
And I suppose one of the ways to overcome that is to create that awareness and investing in PR and marketing regionally. So
Indeed, indeed.
What's the value to that investing in those sorts of promotional aspects?
Yeah. So look, in an industrial business like ours, reputation really matters. Dale has such good things to say about reputation and reliability, and these may not be fashionable words in consumer world where, fast clothing, you buy one set of clothing for summer and something else for fall or whatever the case might be. But in the industrial world, reputation really matters. There was a gentleman by the name of Regis McKenna, who is probably the great-grandfather of public relations in technology. Intel was his client. It's relevant, top of mind, because Gordon Moore passed away on Friday, and if there ever was a saint, sort of a mighty person in technology. It was Gordon Moore and Andy Grove and people like that. But that said, what Regis McKenna famously said is, does advertising matter? Of course, the whole world of advertising went crazy. They're like, of course a PR person would say that. But what I believe he was saying, and you too can read the Harvard Business Review paper for $3 or whatever. What he was saying is reputation really matters. So when somebody in a financial company, a bank, or a mining company, or a media company is trying to make all these systems work together fluently in an agile way without a lot of effort, the reputation of Snaplogic, having done that before for somebody like them, is the most important thing. Of course, they will check it out for their own requirements, and of course, they'll run the performance benchmarks, etc. But reputationally, being that well-known, well-regarded company is absolutely critical, And I think it in the long run, of course, even in consumer businesses, some of the greatest businesses of the world, that becomes important. But we like to think about it as, what would Apple do if they wanted to be in the integration business? How would they make something beautiful, easy to use, and very, very powerful at the same time? And that's the reputation we have in some parts of the globe, and we want to have that same reputation here in Australia and New Zealand as well.
Absolutely, and I'm sure as you go along and you're building momentum like you are now, you will get to that 120 countries in no time.
From your lips to God's ears.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. It was an absolute pleasure, and wishing you all the best with Snaplogic's growth.
Thank you, Azzy. Pleasure to be here.